for joining us, and we begin tonight with President Trump, of whom the best thing you can say at this point is, well, maybe he's never eaten a dolphin. Maybe. He had a busy week this week. On Friday, he was accused of a horrifying sexual assault. He promised massive ice raids for this weekend, only to change course at the last second. And he brought us right up to the brink of war with Iran.
24 hours after Iran downed an unmanned U.S. drone, the U.S. military was ready to strike back. But with minutes to spare, the president made a sudden reversal.
Yes, we were about to attack Iran, but Trump had a last-minute change of heart. And just on the attack part, by the way, not a change of heart in general. He didn't have an Ebenezer Scrooge moment where he threw open a window and yelled, "I'm going to be good from now on." No, he just didn't bomb some people. This was actually just the latest development in escalating tensions with Iran, and as Fox News pointed out, the US drone that Iran shot down was not just any drone.
This drone, as he said, costs up to $180 million. So this is not some drone that you're getting off of Amazon. This is an aircraft that belongs to our government.
Yes. Yeah, I think we all knew that this isn't some drone you're getting off Amazon. No one out there honestly thought you just say, "Alexa, surveil the Iranians," and then Alexa sends a drone to Iran. Now, normally the US might coordinate an international response to something like this, but our regular allies have been noticeably slow to come to our side, perhaps because they believe Trump's part of the reason that Iran is acting out in the first place. Remember, he pulled out of the Iran deal and imposed sanctions on them and any countries buying Iranian oil. Or, as one German official put it, the Americans created this mess and now they have to find a way to get out. So, this left Trump somewhat isolated, and even domestically, he was stuck between warring factions, both in his administration and on his favourite network. Some anchors were very pro-war, like Sean Hannity, while Greg Gutfeld had an interesting theory as to why war with Iran would be virtually painless.
We're now in a time where it doesn't matter how large your population is, because the population is no longer expendable in war. It's now about the machines that you have. Drones are now replacing bones. So it'll be stuff versus stuff. And fortunately for us, we have the best stuff.
That is breathtakingly stupid. If someone said that to me at a dinner party, my honest response would be, "Excuse me, this child is drunk. Someone gave him wine, I don't know who, but he's ranting like a lunatic about how war is all stuff versus stuff now. He needs to be put to bed." Now, on the other side of the issue, Tucker Carlson reportedly took time away from perfecting the art of racist befuddlement to speak to Trump privately, telling him that responding to Tehran's provocations with force was crazy. So, the voice of reason here was a man who wore a bow tie well into his 40s, despite being as not in the Nation of Islam as a person could possibly be. And with everyone giving Trump conflicting advice, we were forced to watch him think out loud, which is always terrifying. On Thursday, he tried to reason through why what Iran did wasn't actually so bad.
Fortunately, that drone was unarmed. There was no man in it, and it was over international waters, clearly over international waters, but we didn't have a man or woman in the drone. We had nobody in the drone. That's right.
There was nobody in the drone. Because that would have made it, and I'm going to throw some military jargon at you here, a plane. And look, I'm glad that Trump didn't end up dragging us towards an unnecessary war this week, but the manner in which we got so close should be a genuine concern for everyone. After calling off the strike at the last minute, he walked us through his decision, and it is chilling to watch 40 seconds of his mind at work.
So they came and they said, "Sir, we're ready to go. We'd like a decision." I said, "I want to know something before you go. How many people will be killed? In this case, Iranians." I said, "How many people are going to be killed?" "Sir, I'd like to get back to you on that." Great people, these generals. They said, came back, said, "Sir, approximately 150. And I thought about it for a second. I said, you know what? They shot down an unmanned drone, plane, whatever you want to call it. And here we are sitting with 150 dead people. That would have taken place probably within a half an hour after I said go ahead." Yeah. And I didn't like it.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm actually glad you didn't like it, but it's amazing to watch him do the right thing in the exact same style that he does the wrong thing, because many of the same ingredients were there, joyously quoting people calling him sir, expressing childlike disbelief that he gets to hang out with generals. Needlessly pointing out the potential dead were, in this case, Iranians. correctly identifying what was shot down as a drone before correcting it to the wrong answer of plane, and of course telling a lie that makes him look good, because there is no way that he wasn't told about potential casualties the moment the plan was presented to him. And yet, considering the ingredients, this might have been the best possible outcome. It's like watching someone put chicken guts, jello and human hair into an oven and then take out a cake 20 minutes later. I'm relieved and sort of amazed with where we ended up. The problem is, I'm honestly worried that next time, if you put the same garbage through this process, this probably isn't going to be the results that we're all going to get. And now, this.
And now, can Meghan McCain just say one thing?
Can I say one thing, too? As the Republican on the show, can I say one thing really? Can I say just one more quick thing? Can I say one thing really quick? Can I say one thing? Can I say something now? Is that okay? Can I say something now?
Let me just say this one thing, because you just have to do a little dig.
Can I say one final thing? Can I say something really quick?
Yes.
Can I just say something?
Yes, babe.
Can I say something really quick? Can I say something? Can I say one thing? Can I say one final thing? Can I say one thing? Can I say something? Can I just interject? Can I just ask one more question? Can I say one thing? No, can I say one thing really quick? Can I say something? Because we know each other.
Hey, that's the
Can I say one thing? Can I just jump in really quick? Can I say one thing? Can I just finish? Can I just say something really quick? Can I say one more thing?
When
Can I just
we
say
had
really
Barry,
quick?
no, let me just finish.
Moving on. Our main story tonight concerns Mount Everest. It's no longer just a mountain, it's become everyone's go-to metaphor for a significant challenge.
It's the Mount Everest of ice cream sundaes.
The Everest of bar food, the homemade tater tot.
Right, Adam is 20 minutes in and he has 2.5 dozen left.
This oyster tower is my Everest.
Is it? Because it really shouldn't be. When you host a show called Man vs. Food, living past 50 with your original heart should be your Everest. Everest was first summited in 1953 by Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay. Before then, it had seemed an almost impossible feat. But as you may have seen on the news recently, since then, climbing Everest has become dangerously popular.
On top of the world, a deadly climbing season growing more dangerous. At least 11 killed, including 3 Americans.
New video this morning of that line to reach the top of the world. Climbers stood in freezing conditions waiting to get to the peak, and allegations that some were pushing and jostling for photographs on a space roughly the size of 2 ping pong tables thousands of meters up.
Holy shit! The only thing more dangerous than jostling for photos on a mountaintop the size of 2 ping pong tables is jostling for photos on 2 actual ping pong tables. 11 deaths at Delta Chi House this year, 9 of them sad. Now, climbing Mount Everest has somehow gone from being a rare feat of extraordinary skill to something that looks like the line at Trader Joe's. The mountain now gets littered with trash. A clean-up expedition just this year brought down over 24,000 pounds of garbage. And that's not all. There's also a lot of human shit up the mountain, which, thanks in part to climate change, is now sliding downhill in what's been called a fecal time bomb, which, by the way, is a phrase that really should be printed on every baby onesie because it's cute and it's accurate. So tonight, let's look at what is causing these issues, how Everest's climbing industry operates, and how we can potentially make things safer. And the first thing you should know is there's actually nothing new about this overcrowding problem. Just look at this eerily familiar story from 2012.
These are images from high up on Everest, the path to the peak clogged with climbers, as many as 200 gambling with their very lives.
Yeah, it turns out Everest is just as ridiculously popular today as it was 7 years ago. And there's just not many things that you can say that about. It's basically Everest, Rick-rolling, and that's about it. Now, there's actually a number of reasons that explain the persistence of the crowds at Everest, as this Sherpa explains.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you.
It's still fun! You didn't see it coming, and it's still fun. Now, one reason for overcrowding is that you can't actually climb to the top of Everest whenever you like. There is one major summiting window which lasts about 10 days in May. And in some years, like this one, bad weather shrinks that time down to just a few days, which was fine when climbing Everest was relatively rare. In fact, for the first 35 years after Hillary and Norgay, there were a total of just 260 ascents. But The 1990s saw the advent of commercial expeditions, with clients paying for mountain guides and Sherpas to help them up the mountain, causing that number to explode to over 1,900 by 2003. And there's now been over 9,000 successful summits. And with that many people going up, you might think it's hard to stand out, but some have bent over backwards to make their climb unique, from the oldest to get to the top, to the youngest, to all this nonsense.
If they succeed, Ben and Shauna will be the first Canadian couple to make it to the summit of Everest together.
In 2001, Stefan Gatt was the first person to snowboard off the summit, while husband and wife team Bertrand and Claire Roche became the first people to fly off the top in a paraglider.
It's 5:40 a.m. and Rod's reached 29,028 feet, the highest point on Earth. But he's got one more goal: to make the world's highest ever cell phone call.
Wow! Nice work, Rod. The highest ever cell phone call. That's incredible. Or it would have been, but unfortunately, Rod had AT&T, so the phone call never went through. I got you! I got you, business daddy! I got you so good! You know what? If I could actually get serious for a moment, there is something I've been meaning to say. I know I give you a hard time, business daddy, but the truth is, you're the only business daddy I have. And I know that you just want what's best for me. I'm sure it's not easy having me as a business boy. And I probably don't say this as often as I should, but I love you, business daddy. And I hope that we never lose that special connection we have. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm so glad our connection isn't on your wireless network, because it's absolutely terrible. I did it again! I did it! I got you, business daddy! I got you! Business daddy got Business baby's out of control! Where? I've acted up! Where? I'm sorry, where was I? That's right. Mount Everest. The point is, hundreds of people now go up every year, and commercial expeditions haven't just significantly increased access to the mountain, they've also increased comfort. There are now luxury expeditions that can cost up to $130,000, offering things like heated tents with dining tables. And at this point, we should probably talk about how all those amenities, and indeed most climbers, get up the mountain, and that's with Sherpas. The overwhelming majority of expeditions rely on Sherpas to do everything from carrying supplies, to putting up tents, to setting the ropes and ladders. They are absolutely integral to commercial expeditions, as this Sherpa will readily tell you.
How many of the clients that you see coming to Everest could do it without you?
I would say 0.
0?
Yeah.
None of them?
None of them.
He's right. For many climbers, Everest is not unlike Simon and Garfunkel. There is someone along for the ride to the top, and there's someone pulling all the weight. And I'm not saying who's who, and neither is Art Garfunkel unless Paul Simon writes it for him. And just a quick note regarding Sherpas. Sherpas with an uppercase S are an ethnic group. Sherpas lowercase s are the mountain workers, some of whom, but not all, are Sherpas uppercase S. Extra fun fact, a word that changes meaning when it's capitalised is known as a capitonym. So now you have the perfect tidbit handy next time you want to completely self-destruct on a first date. Have fun. That's yours to have fun with. Sherpas take on a lot of responsibility and risk. For instance, one of the most dangerous parts of climbing Everest involves the Khumbu Icefall, a notoriously deadly area littered with gigantic blocks of ice that can fall at any moment, as well as huge crevasses. And it's the job of some Sherpas known as icefall doctors to prepare the crossing for climbers each season. And for a sense of just how dangerous this job is, please take your anxiety medicine of choice and watch this.
After 4 hours, they're back at the crevasse. It's so wide, 3 ladders need to be lashed together. The first crossing is always the most dangerous. The risk is the unsecured end will collapse. Temba knows that the icefall doctor he replaced died the previous year on this mountain, down a crevasse.
Wait. Don't get scared. The fuck are you talking about? That is very scary. Fear is the body's natural response there. That doesn't help. It's like telling someone, don't get thirsty, or don't be cold, or don't sneeze every time you see this photo of Justin Long. Why are none of you sneezing? You're being weird. Take that down. Now, I do know that I cut that clip off there, and you're probably worried about whether he made it to the other side. So let me just show you the end of that clip, because it's absolutely amazing.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down.
I got you again! It's still fun. Rick still got it. Look, that guy did make it across, don't worry. But even after the ropes and ladders are fixed, the icefall is still incredibly dangerous for those who cross it. And while paying clients may only have to pass through it a few times, Sherpas have to pass through it far more often.
Time spent in the icefall is borrowed time, because the more time you spend in it, the more likely you are to be buried alive.
On each expedition, as their clients sleep in heated tents, the Sherpas have to carry the tourists' gear through the icefall not once or twice, but about 40 times. 40 times as baggage porters through this valley of death.
40 times? That seems like between 39 and 40 too many times. And it really puts their customers' achievements in a slightly different context. If your friend ran a marathon, but only because someone else ran 1,000 miles back and forth, bringing them Gatorade and carrying a dining table, you might not cheer quite so hard at the fucking finish line. Everest Sherpa actually ranks among the most dangerous occupations on Earth, and yet many are willing to do this work because there aren't many jobs that pay as well in that region. And the fact that they are risking their lives for the ambitions of well-off climbers is uncomfortable to square, no matter how hard some might try. Just watch one TV presenter ask a Sherpa to help him grapple with the morality of what he's asking him to do.
If I wasn't here, you wouldn't be here, and you wouldn't have to go through the icefall. And I know of the tragedies that have happened, so I'm fascinated to know, and I'd love to hear your honest thought whether you think it's wrong that we should be here.
During our expedition, we are like same family, you know.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Come in. Thank you. I like those sentiments. I like that. It's like family, yeah. When we're away from family.
Yeah.
I agree. It's nice. Yeah, I love that description that we're family. It's not client and Sherpa. We're in this together.
But it is client and Sherpa. And boy, you jumped on his answer real quick there. That Sherpa barely had time to get it out before you were literally hugging him. And that is not the warm embrace of family. That's one man physically squeezing the white guilt out of another. So huge risks are being taken by Sherpas to give their clients the bragging rights of conquering the ultimate mountain. Although it is worth knowing that, purely in terms of the skills needed to make it to the top, Everest isn't actually the most difficult mountain to climb. And don't take that from me, I don't know anything. Mountaineers will tell you the same.
Everest is, certainly a very difficult endeavor, but it's not a very technical mountain. It doesn't require a lot of technical climbing skill. If you can just get yourself fit enough to keep putting one foot in front of the other, you can get up the thing.
It's true. If you're going with a commercial tour, you don't need much technical ability to climb Everest. Theoretically, I could do it if I just trained a little. And I know what you're thinking. With that body, John, is there any way you could be training harder? And you are right. I'm a beast. Not a day goes by that I don't sacrifice sweat to the gods of Swole at the Temple of Iron. I didn't move to Meat Street yesterday. I got a mortgage from Swells Fargo, and I've been passing plate ever since. I call this one papier and this one mâché because my shit is shredded. But while Everest doesn't require much technical skill, inexperience can still be deadly, especially as you near the peak. Climbers on Everest can experience something called summit fever. They just want to get to the top, not considering whether they'll have enough energy to get back down. And it can be hard to make good decisions up there. The area above 26,000 feet has only 30% of the oxygen that there is at sea level. It is called the death zone. And what it can do to your body is brutal.
It's impossible to stay at these heights for more than a few days. The stomach stops digesting food, the heart stops pumping blood to the fingers and toes, and the brain goes into meltdown.
So your brain is now swelling because of the hypoxia. It has nowhere to go because it's constrained by your skull. The only exit out of your skull is where your spinal cord comes down. So your brain is being squeezed out of your skull.
Well, that's delightful. I'm just a little surprised those descriptions didn't just continue getting worse and worse. Your brain is squeezed out of your skull, your nipples retract into your chest and start stabbing your heart, your kneecaps continually explode, reform and then explode again, and the bones in your arms and the bones in your legs switch places. So ideally, inexperienced climbers would not be allowed to try something so dangerous, but the limits on Everest are very lax, or, I should say, the limits on half of Everest are very lax, because there are two major routes that all commercial expeditions follow, one from the Tibetan side and one from the Nepalese side. The Tibet side is more technically difficult, and the government there has strict limits on who and how many people can summit, but the Nepal side is a little easier, and there are no limits on how many climbing permits the government issues. You just need to pay an $11,000 fee and have a doctor's note that deems you physically fit. And that's a pretty big loophole right there, because even the least physically fit person on Earth can get a glowing doctor's note, and I know this for a fact because he recently did. Now, a massive 2/3 of Everest climbers go up the Nepal side, and a shocking number of them are unqualified to do that, as a Nepalese official admits.
How many of the climbers that you permit to climb do you think are well qualified?
Maybe around 50-55%.
50%? Half?
Yeah.
Only half are qualified to be climbing. Then why on earth are you letting the other half climb? If Cirque du Soleil had half its trapeze artists be trained acrobats and the other half enthusiasts with $11,000 and their own tiger bodysuit, you would shut that shit down before someone got badly hurt. The problem is, Nepal relies heavily on tourism revenue, so they've been slow to make changes. But they are not the only ones to blame here. Guiding companies could also turn down unqualified climbers, and to be fair, many good ones do. Unfortunately, many bad ones do not. Take the case of Sriya Shah Clawfine, a Canadian woman who decided to climb Everest despite having no serious climbing experience at all.
Sharia got an introduction to an expedition company. Utmost Adventure Trekking, it's called. They told Sharia as long as she was determined enough, they'd teach her what she needed to know. She had to be taught almost everything, from putting crampons on her boots to how to use them to cross the ice ladders.
Look, agreeing to take such an obviously unqualified climber up Mount Everest could well be the Mount Everest of shitty, irresponsible decisions. Because, while incredibly, that woman actually did make it to the summit, she died trying to make it back down. And slow, inexperienced climbers aren't just a danger to themselves. They can be a danger to everybody else. Remember, the top of Everest is just 2 ping-pong tables, and the route down is sometimes single file. And if people aren't moving, you can get stuck. Just listen as some experienced guides worry about a client who's already summited but who can't get down because of a bunch of people who probably shouldn't be there.
It should only take about 10 minutes a person at the maximum. I feel really sorry for Bill and the guys up there.
It hasn't moved since we last.
Yeah, I know. 23 people queued up on the second step. The most pathetic sight I can see is people who can't even down climb a ladder 1 step at a time. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry for the pathetic standard of mountaineering in front of you, and I hope they can hear.
Yeah, and his frustration is understandable there. Think about the violent rage that you felt the last time you couldn't walk down an escalator because a bunch of arseholes were standing still. Now imagine doing that for hours in freezing temperatures as your brain leaks slowly down your spinal cord. You'd be pretty fucking angry too. And look, we're never going to get the number of deaths on Everest down to 0. There is inherent risk there, or at least there will be until one of the luxury expeditions offers a bespoke catapult experience in which clients are lobbed towards the summit in a private pressurised bubble. But there are steps that Nepal could take to manage the risks here, like reduce permits to prevent overcrowding, space out expeditions, and place strict limits on the number of companies that can operate, things that other mountains do actually do. But until Nepal does that, there will continue to be deaths that could have been prevented. And you cannot help but question the motives behind some of these climbs. Even Sir Edmund Hillary was depressed at what he had seen Mount Everest become.
In these commercial expeditions, the guides work pretty hard getting their customers up. But all the customers really want to do is to try and get to the top of the mountain and then come down and boast about it to their friends at home. Very few of them, and I've talked to many of them, Very few of them have that deep feeling of love for the mountains.
Exactly. Some of the people climbing Everest aren't doing it out of a passion for mountaineering, but just because they want to say they climbed Everest. You think a selfie from the summit of Makalu is going to get Everest levels of Instagram love? Of course not. Who gives a shit about Makalu? It's only the 9th tallest mountain on Earth. Or rather, it would be if it existed, which it doesn't, because I just made it up and none of you noticed, and that's the point. Or it would be if I had made it up. In fact, Makalu is neither imaginary nor the 9th tallest mountain. It's the 5th tallest, and that's the point. Or rather, it would be if that were even Makalu. In fact, that's the view from Mount Everest, and you didn't notice because the only thing most of us know about mountain climbing is that a bored investment banker's selfie from the summit of Everest is fire because goals, and thus deserves some serious Insta-love, and that is the point here. But this actually points to a possible solution too, because in researching this story, we stumbled upon this tantalising attempt to secure bragging rights.
An Indian couple is accused of faking a Mount Everest climb. A photo posted to the tour company's website claimed to show the woman at the peak of Everest, but another climber has said this is a Photoshop picture of him at the summit.
They just Photoshopped themselves up there. That is the boldest use of Photoshop to trick people that I've seen since I stumbled across this seal pony hybrid online. And really, it's amazing. And really, if you are going to put yourself on top of Everest, put yourself on a seal pony. It's better. It's just better. And look, the more you think about it, the more brilliant this idea becomes, because if it is just a summit photo that you want, faking it is probably the most ethically defensible way to get it. And if even faking it seems like too much work to you, don't worry. That is why we've created the company Adventures Indoors Luxpeditions, the world leader in getting people to the summit of Everest without ever actually going there. Here at AIL, we believe that climbing Everest should be reserved for qualified climbers only, but that doesn't mean that you can't visit the top of Mount Everest. Simply visit thetopofmounteverest.com, a website that was surprisingly available. Once you are there, you'll be asked, would you like to climb Mount Everest? Simply click yes, and you can then insert a picture of yourself, either alone, with friends, or even a pet, onto the top of Everest, all without posing any risk to yourself or others. Our fatality rate is close to 0. Not too bad for the oldest Photoshop expedition out there, operational since earlier this week, 2019. Plus, we know everyone wants an arbitrary world record attached to their climb, so you can also customise your photo with your personal first, like this one, of the first twin babies to summit Everest. Look at those fecal time bombs. What an achievement. So what are you waiting for? Climbing Mount Everest has become an industry with blood on its hands. But no one can deny it's one of the most striking photos you can have of yourself. So, please, join me in embarking upon the Mount Everest of Instagrammable moments and visit thetopofmounteverest.com. Why do it? Because it's there. I'm going up. I'm going up. I'm doing it. Shoo, Sherpa. Shoo, shoo. I'm doing it on my own. I did this myself. I did it myself. I did it on my own. That's our show. Thanks so much for watching. See you next week. Good night. I did it. I did it. Shoot, shoot. Get out of here. Yeah, you're in frame. I did. Don't get me a dining table. Shoot. I did it. I'm on top of the world. I'm the first British man with glasses in a navy blue suit to get to the top of Everest. I did it. I did it.